I'm back to do another reading wrap-up. I'm going to do my part 1 of my May reading wrap-up. Cannot believe it is May. Cannot believe I'm doing my May reading wrap-up. This year has been so wonky. Some parts of the year I feel like have flown by, and other parts of the year I feel like have gone by so slow. Overall, this has been such a slow year, but my reading life has been really, really good, so that's good. I'm going to talk through the first 10 books that I read and just hope that I read a bunch more. So the second half of my reading wrap-up will be just as long, and hopefully at that point I can show you my new puppy because she's due to arrive on May 28th, which is next week. So let's get into it. The first book I read was a reread, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I read this a couple of years ago when I was still doing reads in my group, and I didn't love it. However, on reread, I have adored it. As you can see, it is tabbed to bits. I love this. I wish I would have bought a new book because this cover is like ripped, but loved it so much. I think physically reading this book was a much better decision, and it has some of my favorite tropes. If you don't know what Six of Crows is about, it's about these 6 outcasts that are forced to work together to conduct an impossible heist. It is set in the Grishaverse. If you've watched Shadow and Bone, you have seen these characters before, some of them, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think physically reading it was so much better. I quoted the crap out of it because I really enjoyed it. A 5-star read. This was for the boss battle for Avengers Reading, and it's so yeah. But I'm really, really pleased with this book right off the bat. Really, really liked it, and I'm hoping to read Crooked Kingdom soon. And then the next book that I picked up was an audiobook. I've been testing out some new cozy mystery series, and I wound up finally picking up Brownies and Broomsticks. Oh, and by the way, this was a 5-star read, obviously. Oh, I did like this series. It definitely has a little bit more magic-y, and I've been trying to read some more cozy mystery series that have magic in them. So this one follows a main character. It's been a bit, and I can't remember her first name, but she winds up moving to this small, I think it's Georgia or like Alabama town, and she winds up opening like a bakery with her family, and there it is revealed there that she is a witch, and a murder happens on opening day of her restaurant or her bakery. Very, very cute, very, very fun, a really, really quick read. I felt like the mystery was pretty solid, and sometimes in the first books I tend to like be able to predict it. I don't remember being able to predict this one, but they all sound super cute, so I will definitely check them out. I'll probably get all the audiobooks from my library like when I get around to it. But it was fun. It was like a 3-star read, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, it was better than the first Hannah Swanson books I've ever read. And probably on par with like a Homicide in Halo or something like that, like four aunties in a wedding, something like that. It wasn't like groundbreaking, but it was very enjoyable, and I really was sold on the mystery and the witchy elements. And then the next book that I read, I don't know if I have it. Oh yeah, I do. Is a graphic novel. It's called The Wyrn Book, Be Wary of the Silent Woods by Sliveta Komakbahov. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. And this is a graphic novel. I needed to read one for one of the challenges that I am. I like this. I don't think it was my favorite. I think it was very, very rushed, but it basically follows all of these characters, and they're vampire shifters, wyrns, and other things, and they go to a school in the night, and then their present winds up getting connected with their grandmother's past, and a mystery is unraveled, and they have to sort of uncover what happened to one of their uncles. It was okay. I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I got this at Comic-Con last year. But I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm going to pick up the next volume. The art style was okay. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and this was for the middle grade reading challenge that I'm doing this month. A lot of reading challenges are happening. And then the next book that I picked up was one that I was hoping I would really love, and I did. And that is With and Without You by Emily Weberly and Austin Sigmund Broca. This is their newest YA book, and I'm really surprised that I liked it that much. I didn't love their love their Enemies to More book that I read, I think last year it came out. What's Not to Love. This, however, was my jam. And I think it's because I really do love like long-term relationships. Some of my favorite tropes is friends to more. My favorite trope of all time is that. And then my second favorite is like second chance romance. So this book is sort of a combination of both. Let's get their names right. Sienna and Patrick are the golden couple. They have been together for so long. They're about to embark on their senior year. And Sienna, this book is only told from Sienna's point of view, which sometimes in YA books I struggle with a little bit. But I thought it was very, very good in this book, and I'll explain why. So Sienna, it has to make a hard decision. She wants to go into senior year fresh. She doesn't want to be dating her boyfriend because she thinks they're becoming too stagnant and their relationship isn't growing, and she doesn't really know who she is at this point in her life. But before she can tell that to her boyfriend Patrick reveals to her that he is moving to Arizona. And they are going to be long distance. And she, instead of breaking up, she says, all right, let's do long distance. Sienna kind of thinks, okay, well, we'll fade out. It will be that. And this will be an easier way to do this than breaking his heart. Things don't go exactly according to plan. And I love this book. I was reading this during a boss battle, but I loved it. And I think it really focused a lot on self-discovery. It also focuses a lot on the senior year in high school, which I think is the most challenging year. I love this book. Gave it 5 stars. It definitely was a long distance romance, and it was sort of broken up a little bit into sections that had like a little bit, I'll see if I can find one for you, that had like group chats in the middle, but it was broken up in like when they saw each other a lot. But the last half of the book really did focus on Sienna sort of discovering herself, and I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. It was delightful. Definitely a new favorite of them. Probably right behind their Shakespeare retellings, but I really, really like this one and definitely think you should check it out. I haven't heard anyone talking about it recently, so just wanted to put it on your radar. And then the next book that I read was another middle grade book, and this is Field Guide to the Supernatural Universe by Allison Noel. And I really enjoyed this one as well. I got this from a friend of mine. We were swapping some arcs. This is the same author that wrote like the Immortal series, the Riley Bloom series. She also wrote Saving Zoe, which is a movie that I watched relatively recently. So this follows a little boy named Max, and he has always had a thing for ghosts. He can always see ghosts. His dad doesn't really believe him. His mom is sort of missing in action. But after a pretty traumatic incident the last day of school, he's sent to live with his grandparents in the summer in this small town. The best I could describe you sort of reminds me a little bit of Halloween Town. And he gets sucked into this ghost world full force, and it was really, really fun. A very, very quick read. Again, I read this for that boss battle, and I really, really enjoyed it. I like that we had a male lead. You don't get that a lot, or I don't read it a lot. And it was really, really fun. It reminded me of Halloween Town. It reminded me of The Good Witch. But there was an old-fashioned adventure. He had to protect his grandfather. And I really, really liked it. So I gave this one 4 stars for review. And I'm definitely going to check out more books in this series as they come out. And then the next book, ooh, I don't know where my arc went. My next book is by Katie Zhao, and it's called Winnie Zhao Unleashes a Legend. Let me go see if I can find it for you, because I know I have it in this room somewhere. Behind me. But I thought this one was very, very cute. And again, it was another really, really quick read. But you basically follow this girl named Winnie Zhang. And she is, I think she's Chinese American. Yeah, I think she's Chinese American, I think. I could be wrong. But she winds up baking, and inadvertently, due to this baking element, she winds up unleashing some spirits. Don't want to say who the spirits are because it is a pretty big spoiler. And she wants to wind up teaming up with her nemesis to sort of save the day. I really like this. If you're kids or you have really loved all the Rick Riordan Presents books, I think this one would be a great addition to that. It's not technically a Rick Riordan Present books, but it does dive into Chinese mythology. I also know it does talk about the daughter of the moon goddess. So very, very fun. There's like a lot of rivalry in this, a lot of friends to, like, you know, a lot of rivals sort of forcing to work together. There's some cute animals, and it's really, really quick. It's like it's not even 300 pages. I really, really like this one too, and I wound up giving it 4 stars. I'm really excited, and I would love to see what she's working on next. I also want to go back and read her Dragon Warrior series, which I do have a book. I do have a couple of books of those on my shelves. But yeah, I really, really liked this one and thought it was super fun, and I really, really liked it. So definitely a 4-star read, and you should definitely check it out. If you haven't got the hint, I'm doing a big middle grade reading challenge this month for the TBR and Beyond reading group. That is why I'm reading so much middle grade as well. And then the next book that I am going to chat about is an e-arc that I didn't love as much, and I think it just suffered from third book syndrome, and that is Dark Waters by Katherine Arden. Book in her series. The first book was Small Spaces, which was set in the fall. Dead Voices was set in the winter. This one is set in the spring, and the third one is going to be set in the summer. Fourth one is coming out soon. I actually just got an e-arc of it. I struggled with this one a little bit. This one was told from a different character's point of view than the last 2 books. It was the male lead. I can't think of his name right now. And it was a bit weird. Like, the pacing was really, really awkward. And this one had to do with them, like, going on the water, and they sort of get, like, like, they go on a ship, and the boat gets almost sunk, and they're sent on this island. The plot was a little bit weird, and the pacing was, like, really, really wonky throughout the whole book. I didn't love it. I really struggled with it, and I knew it was going to be a shorter read. I just felt like not a lot happened. I feel like when we got to the end, I felt like it was very much a setup book for the last book in the series, but I like the spring elements. Again, I think it would be a fun book to read during the spring. It just didn't wow me as much as I was hoping, and I really did like the previous 2, so I was hoping for, like, something that was to wow me, but this one just didn't do it, unfortunately. I gave it 3 stars. I'll definitely finish the series. This book just was not it for me, unfortunately. And then the next book that I read was another e-arc, and that is Heartstopper Volume 4. Matcha Completis. So I really wanted to finish reading this before I started the series. Now I just need to make some time to finish it. This book was a hard read, I will say. I think the first 3 volumes of Heartstopper are really, really fun. As you go darker in the series, it does deal with a lot of harder topics, especially anxiety, depression, eating issues. So go into this with, like, a cautious mind. It does also deal with cutting. There's a lot of triggers in this book, a lot of triggers. Just look it up on Goodreads, you'll be able to find them all. But cutting, anxiety, depression, eating, you know, there's a lot in this story. But I think the way that Nick and Charlie handled it, especially the way that Nick handled it, I think is really refreshing to see what happens when someone you care about is going through this stuff. And it reminded me a lot of when I read Verona Comics by Jennifer Dugan. Read that a while ago, and I just really like the way the story was fleshed out. The art style is stunning, but it also dealt with a lot of harder topics and how it affected both Nick and Charlie, and I really liked it. I really have to go back and watch Heartstopper, especially because it was announced today. We're getting 2 more seasons, and I really, really enjoyed it. Loved the show, loved the casting, but this volume definitely tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, but I really liked it and gave it 5 stars. So if you have not watched Heartstopper, go watch it. You have no excuse now. We're getting 2 more seasons. Yay! And then the next book that I read was, I believe it was my nonfiction. Yeah, it was my nonfiction. So actually, let me go get my physical copy because I do have it. I've read The Antipesinin Reviewed by John Green. I really like this book. I think it was a very interesting way to, like, tell you it because, like, it seems very, very random, the stuff he tells you about, but it all sort of does reflect his life. It all sort of does relate back to climate change. Just a really interesting story. And, like, I really like John Green as a person. I struggle sometimes with his books, but this book I really, really liked. It was a very, very quick listen. I felt like I was listening to a podcast. I felt like just someone was telling me some really, really fun stories. It does have a backbone, a lot about climate change and the impact we have on the world and the way some things just you know, just like the impact we have on the world and, you know, the way things happen in the universe, instance of his life that really have impacted him. I really liked it. I don't normally rate nonfiction, but I would definitely recommend the audiobook because he reads it to you. And again, it was just a super fun way to learn a little bit more about John Green and also a little bit more about climate change. So I liked it and would definitely recommend it. Especially if you like his writing style, because I think that this was a nice look at his life as well. And the next book that I picked up was, this was another one. This was another cozy mystery, and that is Homicide and Halo Halo by Mia P. Marsala. I will say her author's note at the front of this book I think is super important to read because this book is definitely darker than Arsenic and Adobo. And she does say in her author's note she was dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression when she wrote this, and you could definitely see that in the main character of Lilia, or Lilia, I think. But this one is set at a beauty pageant. It's the direct sequel to Arsenic and Adobo. This one does have a murder happens at the pageant, and she's sort of dealing with a lot, but she's also dealing with a lot personally. There's a lot of triggers in here, like a lot of PTSD and a lot of stuff that happened in the first book that she's sort of dealing with. It is a very, very dark book. It's like a very, very dark headspace, so just go into that with like a mindset. It was still super fun. I really did like the mystery. I didn't see the mystery being revealed. I thought the pageant was a really, really fun. It also dived a lot into her relationship with her sister, not her sister, her cousin, and also her past with her mother and why that relationship is so complicated. Gave it 4 stars and really excited for the third one because that is going to be a Christmas story, and I'm really excited for that. And then the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is The Titan's Curse by Riordan, which is my reread that I'm doing along with Prophecy Radio, but here's a photo of that. Forgot when reading this book how little Annabeth is in this book because spoilers, she gets taken like pretty early into this book, but like I forgot how much of the story is without Annabeth, and I think sort of rereading it now and like reading it, I think I see why Rick Riordan had to do that, especially considering the characters he was setting up. But I really, really like this. It worked for one of my challenges for the middle grade reading challenge I'm doing. But alas, those are the 10 books that I read. If I had to choose favorites, which, you know, is very, very hard for me to do, I would say some of my top reads of the month so far are Six of Crows, With and Without You, and Heartstopper Volume 4, and Books I Did Not Love was The Wernbrook and Dark Waters. So, let me know in the comments what are some books you are currently reading, and I'll talk to you guys soon for my next video. Bye, friends.